Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of GeoPod. I'm your host Dylan Woods. On today's episode I'm going to do another strategy breakdown for you guys pertaining to the Arabian Peninsula. In particular, the ways in which Saudi Arabia can address the Houthi threat. Now, I've previously touched on this topic a little bit in my previous clip. Go watch that back whenever you have the chance. Given that the threat that the Houthi poses for Saudi Arabia and for the region in general, by the way, is expanding rapidly. Recently, the Houthis have opened another front, another forward operating base, if you will, amidst Iraqi territory, and have launched multiple strikes on Saudi Arabia from that base, from those positions within Iraq. So obviously the Houthis are expanding. They're expanding the wider conflict that is known as the Iran War in some circles. And it stands as a testament to the efficiency of the Iranian proxy networks and the threat they pose not just for regional stability, but for global international shipping and thereby economic prosperity as well. So previously, on my previous clip, I've discussed multiple options, or I've highlighted rather, multiple options that are currently on the table in our Saudi Security Council. Now, one of these options is a boots on the ground campaign that would see Saudi forces enter Houthi territory on land and reclaim some of, if not the bulk of Houthi territory in the short to mid-term. Now, first and foremost, let me explain to you guys why that is a bad idea. I've said in that clip that the current strength of the Saudi army is approximately 75,000. Apart from that, the Republic of Yemen, the legitimate internationally recognized government of Yemen, has an armed forces that counts approximately 20,000 to 45,000 personnel as of this particular moment in time. Both these armies are by no means big armies, especially if you want to wage a protracted, prolongated war of attrition on land. In contrast, the Houthis, as of this moment in time, count 350,000 active fighters. That's obviously a vast number, especially for what many consider to be a rebel group, meaning that in any situation, in any boots on the ground campaign, the Houthis will be the numerically superior party in this conflict. Not only that, but we're talking about an entity that has been expecting a Saudi invasion or some form of land campaign for almost a decade on end now. They've reinstalled, they've institutionalized their positions. They have strengthened and bolstered their deterrence and combat readiness all across the spectrum. A testament to this is a recent event, the recent development on the east of Yemen, the eastern borders of Yemen, where Houthi rebels have initiated daring raids targeting Republic of Yemen armed forces that were mobilizing along the eastern borders, probably as preparation or in preparation for a potential ground assault in conjunction with the Saudi armed forces. So I don't see a way in which the Saudis can achieve their short to mid-term tactical, operational and strategic objectives through a land invasion with their current army capacity. We're not talking about Israel, who has the capacity to take the fight to Hamas, to take the fight to Hezbollah, who has battle-tested command and control structures, logistical networks, a vast amount of experience, a vast pool of reserves from which to tap into, which are used to mobilizing rapidly and efficiently under duress. Saudi Arabia has none of those abilities. If anything, the latest conflict between the Houthis and Saudi Arabia showed a severe lack of a coherent command and control structure, of coherent logistical networks that could support a prolongated effort on land. And we haven't seen anything that proves that there has been made any advancements in that regard. So as of this moment in time, I don't believe that boots on the ground campaign is the right way to go for the Saudi armed forces. So let me tell you what I do think will be a feasible option for them. First of all, we have to understand the kind of threat that the Houthi rebels pose. First and foremost, what the Houthis are doing now against Saudi Arabia is they're trying to enforce a blockade on Saudi ports. They're targeting Saudi vessels and tankers within the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. And they're striking Saudi critical energy infrastructure through the utilization of rocket, missiles and drones. So these are the threats that Saudi Arabia is facing right now. It isn't facing any potential land invasion or land incursion on land. No, it's facing a long-range threat and a naval threat. So meaning it must respond in kind. What I would like to see is the Saudis continue to utilize their most battle efficient and capable platforms, primarily the Saudi Air Force. The Saudi Air Force is among the most technically advanced air forces within the region. It has modern fighter jet platforms, it has an abundance of them, it has proper aerial support aircraft that can support a prolongated aerial campaign across a wider theater. And that is what I would like to see the Saudis continue to utilize. If you want the abilities of the Houthis to diminish to such an extent that they can no longer launch large salvos or large barrages of missiles, drones and rockets towards you, you must neutralize the launch sites. The fastest way of doing that is through an aerial campaign. Obviously, it won't 100% diminish these capabilities, but it will diminish them to such an extent that the Houthis may reconsider their strategic position as of this moment in time. So, yes, the Houthis pose a threat that must be addressed, and it must be addressed adequately. So here's what I propose. You continue to utilize your Air Force. Initiate a prolongated aerial campaign, striking missile and drone launch platforms, storages, logistical supply networks, command and control structures, as to degrade the Houthis' ability to launch massive counteroffensive and massive long-range campaigns, overwhelming your air defenses on the short to mid-term. Now, that alone is not enough. Like I said before, a huge part of the threat that the Houthi rebels pose, not just to Saudi Arabia, but to the region in general and to global commerce in general, are their asymmetrical naval capabilities. Pretty similar to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran. And if you take a look at the tactics and methodologies they employ, it's almost the same. It's almost as if the Houthis copied the exact same blueprint of the IRGC Navy and employed it in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Why not? It has worked splendidly for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps so far. Why not copy-paste it and employ it elsewhere? That's certainly what the Houthis think, and so far it is working well for them. The Saudis are feeling the pressure. The Saudis, even in the last conflict, roughly a decade ago, between the Houthis and Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabian campaign ceased because of the fear of economic detriment, of unsustainable damage to Saudi infrastructure, gas supply, oil supply networks, and its overall economic prosperity. So what you need to do, and plans have already been made by that for that in that regard, by the way, is launch a simultaneous naval campaign that seeks to not just to diminish the asymmetrical naval capabilities of the Houthis, but also allow you better positioning in your own backyard. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Now, previously you've seen a picture on the top of the screen here where it shows you the designated Houthi territory within Yemen as of this moment in time. Now, let's take a closer look at the western shoreline. So here you see a picture highlighting three different places. The Cameron Island Group, northwest, the Al Hudaydah port city, and the Hanish Island Group. Now both are of great strategic importance for the Houthi rebels, and all three are heavily utilized in Houthi naval operations and Houthi strike campaigns. Now, first and foremost, what you would want to do is you want to take control, particularly of the Hanish Island Group, if you are the Saudi Arabian Navy. You want to initiate a devastating naval campaign that seeks to take away, or at the very least diminish to the fullest extent possible, the asymmetrical naval capabilities of the Houthis, so as to allow you to take control of these strategic vantage points. The Hanish Island Group is of incredible importance for the Houthi rebel organization because it allows them eyes across the theater. It allows them to spot maritime traffic early on, maritime maneuvers of opposing navies and opposing armed forces early on. If you take away those eyes, you drastically degrade their military and asymmetrical efficiency, whilst allowing your forces to be stationed on a strategic vantage point, which you could then militarize to the fullest extent possible, equipped with modern air defense systems, equipped with patrol vessels, provided with aerial denial capabilities. And the Saudi Arabian Navy has the ability to do this, by the way. The Saudi Arabian Navy holds multiple marine squadrons. They count approximately 3,000 in total. 3,000 Marines serve and can be employed as a marine expeditionary force in order to take small pockets of land or small islands within vicinity and act as a forward operating base to further combat these threats I just mentioned. And that is of incredible strategic importance for Saudi Arabia. You need to turn the tide into your favor, and a lot of that has to do with positioning. So rather than launching a full-on boots-on-the-ground campaign, focus on taking control of these minor strategic vantage points that in the midterm and short term will be significantly more important and yield significantly better results for you than embarking on an attrition campaign that you may not even win to begin with. So that is what I would like the Saudis to do. At the same time, if we're launching an aerial campaign, you'll put the heads of the Houthis down. You lay down suppressive fire, as it were, meaning that the attacks will come from such various angles that the Houthis will have to choose between what's strategically the most important for them. As I've said before, similar to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the bulk of Houthi power and Houthi capacity lies in asymmetrical naval warfare and long-range strike campaigns. They're not necessarily the most adept at head-on warfare. Reinvade, taking control of territory once lost, especially not at sea, and especially if such endeavors are backed up by a multinational task force, the one that is currently being put in place, consisting of multiple Gulf states, that can secure the area after Marines have taken control of these island groups. And that is of course instrumental, right? Taking territory, taking control of certain pockets of land or certain island groups is one thing. Staying in control of them is a whole matter entirely. But this is something that is feasible according to current Saudi capacity, planning and ability. At the same time, you want to go after Al Hudaydah, you want to go after the Cameron island groups, you want to go after these ports and hubs that store the vast majority of Houthi weapon systems, Houthi storages, and Houthi training and command centers, thereby degrading the Houthi ability to effectively fight back on the short to mid-term, and thereby vastly degrading the threat they pose on the short to mid-term, which may move them to reconsider their strategic position, allowing perhaps for cessation of hostilities altogether. And let's remember, this is what happened the last time a large-scale aerial campaign targeted the Houthis, when the United States initiated it. It brought the Houthis back to the negotiating table. They signed an agreement, they signed a memorandum with the United States. They ceased their attacks on maritime traffic in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait for years on end, despite Iran entering multiple conflicts and multiple rounds of fighting with other regional countries throughout the theater. So that is, on the short to mid-term, the most feasible course of action the Saudis can take. And it's a course of action that they can undertake backed up by a coalition of other Gulf states, thereby making their efforts and endeavors significantly more efficient. Now, as I've said before, will this pose an end to the Houthi threat? No, absolutely not. If one wishes to truly exterminate the threat that the Houthis pose, you need to take back territory, en masse, on scale. And the only way to do that, or the fastest way to do that, is through a coordinated, well-planned, well-organized land invasion or an extensive prolongated boots-on-the-ground campaign. As I've said before, currently the Saudis do not have this capacity. However, if one adheres to this aerial and naval campaign, which will severely diminish and drastically degrade Houthi capabilities on the short to mid-term, it will buy the Saudis time to invest into their military accordingly, as to prepare for larger future operations that may bring about this end result, and may fulfill all the long-term strategic objectives of Saudi Arabia and its Gulf state partners. This is all that I want to share with you today, guys. Just to break down just an option of some of the methodologies that I think will be most effective against the Houthis on the short to mid-term. If you have any other subjects that you want me to discuss next, or if you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comment section down below. I would greatly appreciate it if you could leave a like beneath this video, and if you would subscribe to my channel. I'm still trying to expand and grow this channel to the best of my abilities, so every support in that regard is greatly appreciated. Once again, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this clip, and I hope to see you all again next time. Thank you very much.